Well, hello, Christ Fellowship. Yesterday we warmed up our theological muscles about the doctrine of eternal rewards. We looked at some passages that indicate that not everybody ends up equal in heaven. Now, of course, this isn't an issue of one's salvation. Your salvation is secure in Christ, but there is just the reality that some believers are more faithful with what they've been entrusted to do for the Lord than other believers, and that is acknowledged in heaven. Now, Paul mentions this in 2 Corinthians 5, verse 10. Let me read for you from verse 9. 2 Corinthians 5, 9. So whether we are at home or away, whether we are alive or dead in the context, we make it our aim to please him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. This is a fascinating verse. This is a verse about judgment, but it's not written to unbelievers. It's written to believers. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, Paul says. Now, this phrase, the judgment seat of Christ, it's the word bema in Greek, the bema seat of Christ. A bema was a podium, a place where reward was given. So this is really a reward ceremony or a graduation ceremony for believers. This is not a judgment of whether or not you are saved. There's no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus. This is a judgment on what you did with what God entrusted to you once you were saved. It's kind of like a graduation ceremony. Everybody who's at the graduation ceremony knows that they have a degree, that they're graduating. There's no sense of, am I going to pass or fail? No, that's already happened. If you're at the graduation ceremony, that's a good sign. But some will graduate merely with their degrees, and others will graduate with distinction, cum laude, or magna cum laude, or summa cum laude, or some other award that goes with their graduation. In the same way, at the bema seat of Christ, everybody who's there is a believer. We must all appear there, though, Paul says, for our reward. We must appear before the judgment seat of Christ so that each one may receive what is due, what one's recompense is, or what your wages are. It's the same phrase used in other parts of the New Testament. So receive what is due for what he has done in the body. So it's talking about what you did in this life, whether good or evil. Now, the word evil here needs an explanation. There is the regular Greek word for evil is the word porneia or kakos, and those are used very frequently for iniquity and sin and wickedness. This is the word phaulon. Phaulon is a completely different word. It basically means worthless or useless. It's really the word for light, something that doesn't weigh a lot. So at the judgment seat of Christ, what is being judged are the weight of your works, the eternal weight of your works, whether they are weighty and good and have impact on eternity, or if they're just phaulon, they're just light and worthless. Not necessarily something sinful. Let's say binge watching a sitcom on Netflix, or sunbathing on the beach, or going for a walk, or sleeping late. Whatever it is, it's not necessarily sinful. It's just there's certain things that we do as human beings that don't have a weight to them. They don't impact eternity. In fact, the book that I wrote about this on eternal rewards, The Preacher's Payday, I subtitled it "How Faithfulness Echoes in Eternity." It's our faithfulness to do what God has entrusted to us that impacts eternity. Teaching a Bible study, praying to the Lord, fellowshipping with other believers, reaching the lost, serving those in need, contributing financially. There's many, many different things that we can do that would actually impact eternity. And then there's some things that we do that are just for ourselves, or are just weightless, just really futile. That is what's being judged at the bema seat of Christ. Again, nothing to be fearful of. It's only excitement. And again, what a blessing to serve a God who calls us into his family, grants us the ability and the stewardship to do something, and then once we've done it, he rewards us for it so much more than we deserve. Anyway, that's something worth pondering. Tune in tomorrow for more on eternal rewards.